Hey, what's going on YouTube? Storm here with another discussion video today. Today I'm talking a little bit about more response video to some of the Galactic God recently did a video talking about Heavy Storm and why, in my opinion, I think we don't need to look so much at Heavy Storm. More, I think that card's probably not going to come back. It's more likely at this point we see Harpie's Feather Duster come back and explain why. First, we do the trip down memory lane with both cards and talk about how these cards interact with each other. Heavy Storm was, I believe, legal until the October 2013 ban list, and it was banned along with cards like Elemental Hero Stratos, Monster Reborn, along with many of the staple traps here in the TCG, such as Compulse, Torrential Tribute. A lot of these cards also went down to 1 on this ban list. Before that, we had multiple copies of Bottomless, multi-copies of Torrential, and Compulse. All these cards went down to 1. So unfortunately, this meant that we had to, I think honestly, partially, sort of what Galactic Guts in his video, I agree with one thing he said, which is that these cards going to 1 meant we could be a little more versatile with what cards we play in our trap lineup. So, Heavy Storm was one of the cards, in my opinion, that I think, because before that October ban list, we had a united ban list where the OCG and the TCG had the same ban list. This was a bad thing for multiple reasons, but for one reason, there's 2 reasons why this was bad. One, cards would come, the OCG is several sets ahead of us, so typically we hear about this awesome thing that's going on in the OCG, but by the time we got the cards, something would be hit. Good example is Gishkis were really, really hyped, and then by the time it got less than a week after Gishkis came out, unfortunately, Gust Rocket and Mind Agris are both hit to 1. These cards here in the TCG are still remain at 1 on the ban list, mostly because they're involved in a wind-up level hand loop. Again, I'm not sure entirely the details, but I know it's partially the reason these cards are still placed at 1. The second reason why the United ban list caused problems is because the OCG side of Konami and the TCG side can never seem to agree on anything. They can never seem to agree on certain cards. Particularly, in my opinion, these cards particularly are Elemental Hero Stratos and Heavy Storm, were mostly the 2 cards that cause these problems. Now, we obviously are not privy to the knowledge of the differences between but nevertheless, in the OCG, they currently have Stratos legal at 1 and Harpie's Feather Duster legal at 1. The TCG, both cards are still firmly placed on the forbidden list. But this video topic is mostly, the main topic of this video is why I think Heavy Storm is not going to come back. But I think Feather Duster at some point might. Again, I don't think either card is coming back for the reasons I've stated previously. It was one of the cards that Konami on the TCG side does not want to come back. And the reason I say Heavy Storm probably won't come back at this point, I could just say, oh, the OCG has Feather Duster, it's obvious. You can't just use that as your only argument. The main point is that in an era where pendulums exist, where they count as spell cards while they're in the pendulum zone, basically, because the main reason for this is that now granted, not only can you blow up your own pendulum scales and then reset your scale and just bring everything back, you also clear off your back row, opponent's back row. So now, most of the time in a format where Heavy Storm is legal, most people are not going to have more than 2, maximum 3 cards set. And if you are, you're going to get punished pretty heavily if you overextend on your back row. So one of the things Heavy Storm was very good at punishing. Your opponent would if they set too much back row, once they learned, people were very careful about setting all their back row when Heavy was legal. Now it's not so much of an issue. The biggest problem with Heavy Storm is that, like I said, you Heavy Storm, clear out your opponent's back row, and blow up your scales. On top of that, you can reset your scales. Obviously, you have to time it correctly. You're not going to, as some people I had a discussion or more of an argument with about it, said Heavy Storm is a, quote, neg 1, which is just boggles my mind. Heavy Storm is not a neg 1 if you're blowing up your entire opponent's back row and blowing up your scales. Obviously, you're not going to blow up your scales if you can't just replace your scales in the following turn, or follow as a follow-up play. So, in my opinion, it's one of the reasons I think Heavy Storm is not coming back anytime soon, especially here on the now we're going to talk a little bit about Feather Duster's history. Feather Duster, I believe, was one of the first cards banned, along with Chaos Emperor Dragon and several other cards. It's been firmly placed on the forbidden list forever, so thinking of it even coming legal without any changes is pretty surprising, especially in the OCG. But nowadays we have a card, and obviously Feather Duster is pretty dang good in Harpies because it is searchable. Because Hysteric Sign, the continuous spell card that when sent to the graveyard, field or hand to the graveyard, searches 3 Harpie cards, can search Feather Duster. Now, could that be a problem? Possibly, but it's in one particular archetype, and plus, Hysteric Sign does not search instantly. It doesn't search until the end phase. So you obviously have a turn to prepare accordingly and not set too much back row. Now, ways that I think Feather Duster is a lot more fair than Heavy Storm is that if you Feather Duster, you do not blow up your own pendulum scales. Now, you do clear off your opponent's back row, but like I said about Heavy Storm, the same thing applies for Feather Duster. In a format where these cards are legal, you don't see opponents overextending on back row. It's the same concept where if the opponent tries to set for a new Chain Royal Decree, or they summon Denko Sekka, and you've set for back row and you don't have warning. Use overextended on back row. Now granted, that might have been because you just didn't open with nothing, mostly trap cards in your opening hand. Nevertheless, as far as my thoughts on that, as I've said, I think Harpie's Feather Duster at this point is more likely to come back as long as pendulums exist in Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like Heavy Storm is just, neither card I feel like is never going to come back on the TCG side. However, if one of the two were to come back, it will be Feather Duster and not Heavy Storm. And as far as what will happen in TCG side, again, we don't know. But I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that Heavy Storm is firmly placed on the Forbidden List and probably never coming back. Feather Duster is the more likely of the two. So anyway, guys, as always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching my video today. Really appreciate watching my videos. Tune in on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. And if you like what you saw in this video, please subscribe. So, Storm signing out.